From the OUTV Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, California, this is Brief News Brief, a brief look at today's trending news topics, proudly combating the thought police since 2016. Here's your host, James Heaney.
I'm James Heaney, and this is your Brief News Briefing. North Korea issued the United States a $2 million bill for the hospice care of American Otto Warmbier, the comatose University of Virginia student who was sent home from Pyongyang in 2017. This led to a lot of people wondering, wait a second, did Donald Trump agree to pay Kim Jong-un that money to get Otto Warmbier back to the U.S., which, as far as we've all known, has always been, you don't do that. You don't pay to get hostages, because if you pay to get hostages, people take hostages to get money. You can't have those things link. Luckily, Trump says flatly that he did not pay Kim anything. He says, we did not pay money for our great Otto. And then Trump says, I haven't paid money for any hostage. We don't pay money for hostages. Oh, phew. That was a close call, right? I was worried that we'd set a precedent of sorts. But North Korea then goes on to present an invoice for Warmbier's care in an extraordinarily brazen act, even for a regime that's known for its aggressive tactics. Yet two people familiar with the situation who are not comfortable coming out publicly say that the U.S. envoy sent to retrieve Warmbier signed an agreement to pay the medical bill on instructions passed down from Donald Trump. So we have an invoice for $2 million for hospital care. That sounds like we're paying to get a hostage back, right? They say that the bill went to the Treasury Department, where it remained unpaid throughout 2017. In a super unusual move today, Trump tweeted a quote from not a specific person. He didn't quote a specific person. He says this quote comes from a chief hostage negotiator, USA. Now, in the quote from this unnamed source, the unnamed source praises Donald Trump's hostage negotiation skills. It says, President Donald J. Trump is the greatest hostage negotiator that I know of in the history of the United States. 20 hostages, many in impossible circumstances, have been released in the last 2 years. No money was paid. And we're supposed to trust that Donald Trump happens to know a chief hostage negotiator that happens to have the same dialect as Trump does. It sounds such like a familiar tone. Warmbier was convicted on charges stemming from pulling down a propaganda sign in Pyongyang in his hotel early in the hours of January 1st, 2016. Now, this type of infraction would be minor in almost any other country, but in North Korea, it was considered a hostile act against the state. Today, Russian gun rights activist Maria Butina was sentenced by a federal judge to 18 months in prison. The judge characterized her crimes as dangerous and a threat to our democracy. The 30-year-old was tangled up in a plot to penetrate conservative U.S. political circles, which is about as much penetration as they're getting, am I right? Oh, that's distasteful, I'm sorry. To penetrate conservative U.S. political circles without disclosing that she was working as a foreign agent for the Kremlin. Wow! That sure sounds a lot like Volume 1 of the Mueller report, huh? Butina pleaded guilty in December to conspiring with senior Russian officials to access the NRA. When she is released, she's going to be deported back to Russia. The judge found that Butina's networking efforts were used to establish back-channel lines of communication to advance Russian interests. He said that the conduct was sophisticated and penetrated deep into the political organizations. I'm sorry, I can't get... When I say the word penetration, there's just one thing I think about, and it's into political organizations. Now, the reason what she did was so illegal is that she failed to register as a foreign agent with the United States Attorney General. It certainly didn't help that her work was all happening at the same time that the Russian government was working to interfere and affect the American electoral process. Although Butina's case is not part of Mueller's investigation, she is the first Russian national convicted of seeking to influence the American policy in the run-up to the 2016 election. Butina's lawyers scoffed at the ruling, referring to it as complete and utter Russophobia. Butina was not a traditional spy or a trained intelligence officer, but her work was used to target politically powerful Americans for Kremlin recruitment. Period. UFOs, aliens, unexplained aerial phenomenon. A recent uptick in sightings of unidentified flying objects prompted the Navy to draft formal procedures for pilots to document encounters. Now, this is a major corrective measure that former officials say that this is long overdue. Since 2014, regular sightings of UFOs have entered military-designated airspace, as often as multiple times per month. This new guideline is to investigate each and every report to ensure safety and security. Some are saying that this is the single greatest decision that the Navy has made in decades. Others are saying it's a disgrace that they have failed to look into this strong pattern of sightings, and that they're just too damn scared of aliens to investigate it. In some cases, pilots, many of which are engineers and academy graduates, smarty people, they claim to observe small spherical objects flying in formation. Others have said that they've seen white tic-tac shaped vehicles. They claim that the UFOs that they saw didn't appear to use engines that rely on fuel. These vehicles had no air intake and no wind exhaust. They also seem to exceed our aircraft in speed, lending to a truly radical alien technology. Pilots have been concerned that reporting unidentified flying aircraft would adversely affect their careers. And those few who did speak up said that there was little interest in investigating their claims anyways. Dozens of incidences were witnessed by naval officers in a single year, which was finally enough to force the service to address the issue. The Navy now has enough incredible credible evidence, including eyewitnesses and accounts that corroborate the radar information to investigate what's occurring, whatever it is.